Android 17 and the June Pixel drop landed together this week, and I went through the entire feature list so you guys don't have to. Some of this stuff is flashy, and some of it is kind of quite fixes that we've been requesting for the last couple of years, and a couple of these features will be coming to phones that did not get them last time around. There is a lot here, so I'm going to walk you through every single thing in the order that it matters to you. Starting with the one that is going to get all the attention because I think it kind of earns it. Okay, when you open a Pixel Fold now, Android 17 can split that screen into a proper gaming layout. The top half becomes a gaming view, and the bottom half turns into a dynamic gamepad or a controller, so to speak. It also has shoulder buttons and face buttons laid out like it's a real controller. It is a 50-50 split designed to make full use of that unfolded screen instead of just stretching a phone's UI across it and hoping for the best. If you've got an external controller, Android 17 now adds native remapping, so you're not just stuck with whatever button layout a developer assumed that you use. That is a small detail, but if you've ever tried playing a cloud gaming title with a Bluetooth controller on Android, you know how often the buttons just don't line up with what's going on the screen. On the performance side, Google says that they've made memory cleaner more efficient, specifically to cut down on frame drops and stutter during high-definition gaming sessions. That matters because foldables run hotter and have more demanding displays, so anything that keeps the experience smooth without draining the battery in 20 minutes is a real win. Now here's why this goes beyond the novelty factor. Foldables have always had the identity problem where the big screen was cool, but nobody quite knew what to do with it. You unfold it, you scroll through some apps, and you fold it back up. All done. Gaming finally gives that extra real estate an actual job, something you unfold your phone specifically just to do. Now, whether this becomes a genuine feature to buy a Fold or just a nice bonus for people who already have one, we'll find out once more games actually lean into this layout. Google says that this is rolling out over the next coming months, so this is not really a day one thing for every title. And that rollout pace is going to matter a lot for how this lands. Gaming is the loud feature in this update, the one that's going to fill up comment sections and get clipped for shorts. The next one is a lot quieter, but if you multitask on your phone at all, and let's be honest, almost everybody does, you're going to feel this every single day. So when you long press an app icon on Android 17, it turns it into a bubble. A small floating window that sits on top of whatever you're doing. So you pull up your notes while you're in your browser, you keep a sports score visible while you're replying a text message, you check your calendar without leaving your email, you watch a video tutorial while you follow along in another app. You can keep going and going. You can stack up to 5 of these bubbles at once, so this isn't really a one and done feature. It's meant to become part of how you actually use your phone. On bigger screens and foldables, these bubbles get docked into something Google calls the bubble bar. Tap to switch between your active bubbles, resize them, or blow one up to your full screen the moment you actually need to focus on it. It is the kind of thing that sounds small in a press release, but it changes the way you use your phone the more you get used to it. Android has had floating windows before, split screen has existed for years, and there have been third-party apps that have tried to do something similar. But those have always felt like workarounds, something you dig into for the settings menu, set up once, and then forget it ever existed. Bubbles feels designed to actually get used because the entry point is just a long press on an icon you already know how to find. That's the kind of gesture that becomes muscle memory very quickly, and muscle memory is usually the difference between a feature people talk about and a feature people actually live with. The other side of this update is about what you can actually create on your phone, and Google packed in a few tools here that are worth slowing down for. First up is screen reactions, and Android 17 has reworked screen recording so you can record your screen and the selfie camera at the same time with no extra apps and no green screen. If you've ever wanted to react to a video, a game, or a website and overlay your face on it in the way that creators do for shorts and reaction content, this is now built directly into the recording toolbar. You hit record, your face shows up in the corner, and you're done. For anyone making content on their phone, this removes a step that requires a separate app entirely. Then there's the Gemini Omni, which is a new way to generate and edit videos using Gemini. You type out what you want, you describe the shots, the style, the action, and Omni produces a custom video based on that prompt. This one is gated to the Gemini Pro subscribers, so it's not available to everyone out of the box, but it's a pretty significant jump from what Gemini could do on a phone even a few months ago. Now we're moving from Gemini editing your existing pictures to Gemini generating new footage from a text description, and that's a different category of a tool. And and Lyria handles the audio side of things. You can prompt it with a style, a vocal direction, a tempo, and it generates an original track for you, which you can then customize it further if you want to push it in a different direction. Whether you're making something for a video project, you're looking for background music that won't get flagged for copyright infringement, or you're just messing around to see what it can actually do, it is a real music generation tool sitting inside your phone's AI assistant. You put them together and these three features turn your phone into a much more capable content creation tool without needing a separate app for each piece of the process. You record yourself reacting, generate a clip with Omni, and score it with Lyria, and you've covered 3 steps that used to mean 3 different apps. But all this new stuff to create, share, and record naturally raises a question that is worth sitting within for a second. How well is Google actually protecting what's on your phone while you're doing all this? This is the section that won't make a flashy thumbnail, but is arguably the most useful update in this whole drop if you've ever lost a phone or you're worried about one going missing. Android 17 lets you grant an app temporary access to your precise location, so it's not stuck choosing between always on tracking and no location access at all. That is the real middle ground that's been missing for a while. Contact sharing gets more granular at the same time. Instead of handing an app your entire address book just to use one feature, you can now share specific contacts only, which is a much more sensible default for the kind of apps that ask for your permission. The bigger change here is to Find Hub's mark as lost feature. If your phone goes missing, this now locks it with your biometrics, your fingerprints, or your face unlock. So even if someone has your passcode, they can't get into your data or turn off tracking. That's closing a gap that's existed for a long time where a passcode alone wasn't really enough to keep a determined person out of your phone. On top of that, live threat detection has improved to catch more suspicious apps and scams before they cause damage. Advanced protection mode has been beefed up against more sophisticated attacks, and Google also reduced how many times someone can guess your PIN with longer wait times between failed attempts. That last one sounds small, but it takes brute forcing your way into a phone a lot less practical than it used to be. Now, none of this is exciting to talk about on camera, and I get that, but if you've ever had your moment of panic where you can't find your phone, or your mind immediately goes to everything that's on it, that section is for you. A lot of this drop is about features that launched as flagship exclusives last year, finally trickling down to more devices. And that's worth paying attention to even if none of these get their own headline. Voice Translate, which lets your Pixel translate a phone call in real time using each other's voices, is now available on the Pixel 10a. That's a feature that was on its debut on the Pixel 10 Pro and the Pixel 10 Pro XL lineup last year as a showcase moment, and now it is sitting on Google's budget phone just a few months later. Quick Share is getting Airdrop compatibility on the Pixel 9a and the 8a, which means if you're in the iPhone and Android household, file sharing between devices just got a lot less painful, and that's now true even on Google's more affordable phones and not just the flagships. Manual call screen, where Call Assist answers unknown numbers and asks what they're calling about before you even pick up, is expanding to India on the Pixel 10 series. There's also Magic Queue, which is Google's contextual suggestion feature that pops up helpful info based on your conversation, and it's rolling out to more messaging apps beyond the handful it launched with. And Conversational Photo Editing through Google Photos, where you just describe the edits you want in plain language and Gemini handles the rest, is landing in Germany, the UK, France, Spain, and Italy. So back to where we started. The gaming mode is the thing that is going to get the most clicks and the screenshots, and honestly, I think it deserves it. But the real story with this drop is how much of it is actually closing a gap. Console-style gaming on the Fold that finally has a reason to exist, real cross-platform file sharing that doesn't feel like a workaround, translation and call screening landing on phones that aren't flagships, and a security overhaul that fixes one of the more scary parts of losing your phone. If you got a Pixel, this update starts rolling out June 16th, and if you've been on the fence about whether a Pixel makes sense right now, this drop is a pretty strong argument that it does. Thank you guys for watching this video. My name is KJ, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.